We go now to Noah Shack, the VP of UJA against anti-Semitism. And Noah, we want to bring you in here for this story, but first let's turn to some tragedy happening, going with Noah here. And Noah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And Noah, what is your initial reaction to the news of the death of this Canadian?
Well, it's devastating. We had all been hoping and praying for Judih's release and return to her family, and it sent shockwaves through the community across Canada, where we have really been hanging on the edge of our seats with hope and anticipation that perhaps Judih might be returned home. She's one of 100 hostages that remain in Gaza, whose status is unknown. Tragically, today we found out that she was murdered along with her husband during the October 7th attacks while they were out for their morning walk, and in which around 60% of the population of their small town was either murdered or taken hostage.
That's very devastating. Now, did you know Judih personally? How will she be remembered?
Well, I didn't know her personally, but I feel like we've become very close with each of the Canadians who were either killed or taken hostage as part of the Hamas attacks on October 7th. The community has just rallied around their cause so much, and we have had the privilege of meeting with their families, of hearing their words. Judih's siblings spoke very powerfully on the steps of Parliament Hill to focus attention on her plight and the plight of so many others who are impacted by this horrific terrorist attack. We've learned so much about Judih, even though I don't know her. That she was a teacher who specialized in working with children with special needs, helping children with anxiety using meditation and mindfulness methods, a poet, an entrepreneur, and somebody who was really dedicated to the cause of peace and whose voice would be all the more important and powerful right now. Tragically, a life cut short by the senseless and heinous acts of violence by Hamas.
Now, we know there are still hostages being held by Hamas. What action is being done to get them out since the humanitarian pause last month?
Well, there have been a number of initiatives to revive those humanitarian pauses so that more hostages can be released and there be more humanitarian aid brought in to support the people of Gaza. Unthinkably, Hamas has rejected these proposals and continues to attack Israelis, continues to hide amongst the civilian population in Gaza, and continues to hold these people hostage going into a third month. It's just shocking and inexplicable. And it's something that is hitting home, even though there are no more Canadian hostages that we're aware of. It hits close to home because there are people here in Canada who have openly and gleefully celebrated the Hamas attacks of October 7th. And we see people continue to demonstrate in support of Hamas here in our streets. And that's something that's very alarming for the community, who is reeling from our friends and family members being murdered or taken on October 7th and continuing to be in harm's way as Hamas and other terrorist organizations continue to fire into Israel. That there isn't a voice calling for the release of the hostages among these demonstrators, and quite the opposite, voicing support for violence in many cases.
Well, Noah, we appreciate you being here with us today, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
That is Noah Shack, VP of Countering Antisemitism and Hate at UJA Federation of Greater Toronto.